Welcome to Aaron's Heart. My name is Darby and I will be your bartender today. And today our special is the Martini. All right, the Martini. So, this is one that has been requested and I've also wanted to do for quite a while, okay? The Martini is an interesting one for a few reasons. One, and probably the primary reason why the Martini is such an interesting cocktail, is because there is no right way to do a Martini, okay? You've got from about the early 1900s on through the 1960s and early 1970s, from everything I've looked at and all the research I've done, there's thousands of different variations of the Martini, from like ultra dry ratios to basically, in a lot of places, the unfortunate reality is a Martini that's essentially just a cold glass with vodka or gin in it. So it's just chilled glass of liquor, which is not right. If that's what you get as a Martini with like a lemon twist in it, or like a lemon peel, lemon twist, olives, a little slice of orange, something like that, it's not a Martini. That's just, it's not, okay? So I'm gonna leave it at that. But anyway, I'm gonna be making two today. They're my two personal favorites, but they are also kind of the modern day interpretations of classic recipes. Okay, so what I mean by that is it's good. So as we've evolved as cocktail drinkers, right, from the early days of the cocktail, our tastes have developed differently, okay? We don't like the same things. Cocktails a lot in the 70s were incredibly, like, way over sweetened. We've dialed that way back. In the early 1900s, they were incredibly dry and basically just bitter water spirit kind of thing, right? Like, we think about an old fashioned, right? This is kind of similar, okay? But we're going to be using, and there's a bunch of different ratios. And let me talk about ratios for just a second, because like I said a minute ago, there's no real right way to do this. You've got like 1-to-1 ratio. You've got 2-to-1 ratio. You've got, like, I've seen crazy ones like 7 parts to 1. And it's not 7 parts of vermouth, it's 7 parts of alcohol, of your base spirit. So anyway, we're gonna move past all that for right now, okay? Just know we're gonna be basically doing a 1-to-1, or I'm sorry, a 2-to-1 and a 2 to like half, okay? So you'll understand what I mean here in just a second, but let's jump into this. But before we do, we need to talk shaken or stirred. There's a lot of argument for each side of this coin, okay? I'm not saying there's any one right way to do it, but I'm saying the way that it was classically done and the way that I believe is correct. Mind you, I'm not a professional. I'm a guy in my house making cocktails because I like to. Stirred, all right? My primary reason for stirred is when you shake, and this is, there are 2 reasons. But my primary reason is when you shake with ice, you tend to break up ice cubes and you get little floating chunks of ice, which that can be very pretty if you're into that like kind of semi-sparkly thing, especially if you don't double strain. You're gonna get those little shards of ice in there, and to me, that disrupts a martini. It also, and this is one of those debatable things, if you're using gin, they say that it bruises the botanicals in the gin. Whether or not this is true, or it just aerates considerably more, I will leave that for you to decide. Try it both ways, but I personally prefer the stirred method, and that's what we're gonna do today for both martinis. All right, so let's jump right in to our first martini. This is the classic martini. I'm gonna make these both one right after the other, then we'll pour them out and we'll see which one you guys go ahead and decide to try. So, classic martini, 2 to 1, and it's super simple, okay? We're gonna be using gin. Gin was the classic. Vodka didn't see popularities until the mid 1960s to late 1960s. Vodka became far more popular to use in this cocktail, but I personally prefer it with gin. I think it's much better that way. So, 2 ounces of a good, very dry, very strong London Dry, okay? I'm of course using Beefeater. I would also recommend like Seagram's. It's readily available, it's very cheap, and it's very dry, okay? The drier, the better with this. Then we're gonna be using our Martin & Rossi extra dry vermouth, okay? There are a ton of different vermouths. And when you start getting into some of the different vermouths, things can get a little weird, especially with Blanc and dry, okay? Dry vermouths will say dry. Blanc vermouths are a white vermouth or a clear vermouth that is sweet. You need a dry vermouth. I'm using this Martin & Rossi because it's readily available for me and it's reasonably affordable, okay? 1 ounce of our dry. That's your 2 to 1, all right? 2 parts, 1 part. Super simple, super simple. Okay, now, this is another thing that was, from what I found, was in the classics, and I have found that I really like it, and that's using 1 big dash of orange bitters. I really think it livens up the flavor. It's big, it's bright, and it's super nice to have just a subtle note of citrus in there without diluting that dryness, right? And that's why I would use something like Angostora's orange bitters, because it's still bitter, so very dry. It's not like using triple sec or Contra or something like that. Use orange bitters. Okay, so there's 1. We're gonna set that kind of right there for just a second. We're gonna get our second glass out here, and we're gonna do another one. And then we'll stir them up, put them into chilled glasses, and we'll see what we say. Vodka. We're gonna do a dirty martini. Now, a dirty martini is made with olive brine. So this one is a little bit more modern. From what I found, the dirty martini kind of came to prevalence in the early to mid 1960s. 2 ounces of vodka. You could go 2.5 if you really wanted to. I'm gonna do 2 just to kind of keep things even here. 1/2 ounce of our dry vermouth. It's basically the same thing, all right? And now this is Stirring's Dirty Martini Olive Brine. This is literally just a bottle of olive brine, okay? If you have olives, you could drain some of the brine off instead of buying this, but I find that buying this is super easy. Keep it in the refrigerator, it keeps good for quite a good little while. 1/2 ounce. That's it, all right? Basically, it's another 2 to 1, except you're splitting your 1 between these 2. Now, we have our classic and our dirty. Let's get some ice into these, mix them up, pour them out, and see what we think. There we go. Oh, that one doesn't want to crack. There it went. I don't have 2 spoons clean to stir with, so we're just gonna have to move quickly. All right, stir these hard and for a little extra time, okay? This is gonna be all the ice, the water, the chilling, and the diluting that you're gonna get is gonna be during this portion of your cocktail making. We're not shaking this, so shaking tends to impart a little bit more chill as well as a little bit more water because it breaks down your ice much quicker. Also, this is served up. There's no ice goes in this glass, okay? Now, let's grab our glasses. Let's not break our glasses. Two frosted glasses, okay? Put a couple glasses in the freezer. Get them chilling. Dirty Martini. And our classic Martini. See, there's almost no difference in color. The Dirty Martini, though, is slightly darker. It has this like little bit of like filmy darkness in it, okay? Now, you could do essentially any garnish that you like for either of these. But the Dirty Martini should be served with olives for sure, 10 out of 10 times. And that's what we've done here. I've got 4 little baby olives right there on our little stick. Now, for our classic, we're gonna go ahead with a classic peel of lemon, a nice big twist of lemon to just kind of drape right into it. Clean that up a little bit. And look, here's the thing about the Martini, right? Make it look nice. When you serve a Martini, Martinis are you know, they're classic and they should look classy when you serve them. So don't just like throw your lemon peel in there. Take just a second to peel those rough edges off. Give it just a little spritz right over the top. Do just a little twist on it. And we're gonna go ahead and spear this guy too, just because that makes it easier for me to get it out when I go to taste. Something like that. It's not perfect, but it will do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, martinis. We have our classic Martini. This is your standard 2-to-1 ratio dry Martini made with gin. And this is our vodka Martini, but it's a dirty Martini. You could make this with gin as well, and it's delicious that way as well. All right, we're gonna start with this one, with this dirty Martini. So the Olive Brine, it's salty and briny. It's got that smell clearly comes through. I'm using Stoli vodka. You could definitely use something a little bit less harsh, maybe a Ciroc, maybe a Grey Goose, or Gray's Peak is delicious, but this gives you kind of a nice little bit of diesel fuel taste and smell and that kind of viscosity almost. Okay, so the Olive Brine comes through immediately. It is a big punch in the mouth, but it's not overbearing and it doesn't overstay. That's the thing about the Martini, is it does not overstay its welcome. It comes and then it goes. Using this with vodka makes sure that your Olive Brine it makes your dirty Martini dirty, okay? If you did this with gin, I would recommend using something like Hendrick's or Tanqueray that has a little bit more flavor and a little bit more body and is not quite as dry as a Seagram's or a Beefeater. So with that said, let's move on to our classic, and this is one of my favorites. I already know it's good. It's delicious. It's flavorful. There's citrus notes. It's very dry. It kind of dries your mouth out right here in the back of your jaw. But that Angostura, the orange bitters that I used, they're present. Even one dash, right? Because this is a fairly small cocktail. It doesn't fill this glass up. It's really only 3 ounces of liquid. So it's not a huge cocktail. It's something you're gonna sip on. It's something you're gonna savor slowly. If you had this and you were sitting on the back porch eating sandwiches, this would be phenomenal with like cucumber sandwiches with no crust, okay? just sitting in the sunshine, sipping this away. It makes for a perfect afternoon cocktail, or maybe even a just before dinner, an aperitif, right? This is a phenomenal cocktail for that because it's dry and it's clear and it's clean, and it has a little bit of everything, right? It's, don't take this the wrong way, but it's almost like sipping lemon pledge, right? You get that clean, there's something about gin, right? And it's what makes gin kind of inaccessible for people that are scared of that like pine sol taste, right? Because it tastes very clean, and then you mix that with lemon and orange, and it's just citrus and beautiful. And then you go to its cousin on the complete opposite end. It's on the complete different spectrum, and it's wild, and it's still dry, and it's still a bit mouth puckering, but that brininess, that like savory comes through, and that would be phenomenal with a steak. You could have it with, say you're having a nice filet mignon or a nice big T-bone. A dirty martini with that, oh, perfect. Anyway, that's the martini. I'm gonna stop rambling now. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Go out and try some martinis. Go try different variations. Go try different ratios. See what you like. If you like it to be wicked dry, reverse your ratios. Go 1 part gin or 1 part vodka to 2 parts vermouth. It'll be incredibly dry, incredibly bracing. But experiment. That's the thing about the martini, is it's probably the most open to interpretation cocktail out there. And I hope that you guys enjoy. I hope that you got something out of this, and I hope that you try a martini. They can definitely be a little intimidating, I know, but they're phenomenal. The martini is an awesome cocktail to sip on. Don't try and just wing it back and call it good. This is one you want to take your time, you want to enjoy, and you want to just sip it again and again and again. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I did want to give a huge shout out to everybody who has subscribed. It may not be a big number to a lot of people, but to me, I just hit 50 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and it is amazing. This is something I've always wanted to do, and because you guys have kept subscribing and kept engaging, it's made it so, you know, I can do more of this, okay? And 50 is not a huge number, no, but it's a big number to me, and it's because of you. So thank you all very much. On that note, please leave a like, leave a comment, share this video with somebody that wants to argue about shaking versus stirring. There's a huge argument there, and I'm not going to get into it, okay? If you shake it, you're wrong. James Bond, you're wrong, my friend. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I'm going to leave it at that. Remember, don't drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Tip your bartenders. I hope you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day or evening, whatever time it is that you're watching this. Until next time, thank you so much. Go have a cocktail. Cheers. That's just delightful.